Iatrogenic phimosis. So there are two types of phimosis that are generally acknowledged by everybody involved, including the American Academy of Pediatrics, acknowledges that the infant foreskin is fused to the head of the penis. The opening is mechanically tight, and it is fused to the head of the penis by a membrane called the synechia. This is called physiological phimosis. It is the normal state of a normal, healthy boy. Normally, there is, according to the Dutch study that is often cited, there's an average age of 10. Half of the people are retracted by the age of 10, or a median. The median age is 10 years. And then this is normal. Most cases release by mid-teens, mid to late teens. And then there's another kind of phimosis. There's pathological phimosis, phimosis that is essentially a disease state. Now, I would argue, especially in a culture like America, where there's a lot of forced retraction, which we're about to talk about, I would bet a lot of these cases of adult phimosis are in fact related back to forced retraction, both by doctors and by parents, and often it's the doctors telling the parents, doing it themselves in the office, and then telling the parents to do it repeatedly. I am submitting another kind of phimosis, and actually so pathological phimosis. Sometimes it just happens. I mean, there are even in cultures in Europe where there is not a culture of forced retraction, there are some people with phimosis. But there is this third concept I'm trying to inject into the intactivist vocabulary, and I'd like to call it iatrogenic phimosis. And this is, it could be acute. In other words, these doctors in these offices, they will forcibly retract infants' foreskins without asking, or even before a parent could jump in and tell them, no, don't do that. And they'll tell the parents to do it. And the kids will be screaming. The infants will be screaming. There'll oftentimes be blood. But it's an acute situation. If you stop doing it, from what I understand, it will go away. Repeatedly doing this can lead to an adult case of pathological phimosis where the membrane, the synechia, will have long since dissolved, but the preputial orifice will be scarred and will be tight. The proper treatment for phimosis, by the way, is of course steroid cream, manual stretching, or in the absolute worst cases, preputioplasty, where they make a vertical slit along the penis, which is then closed horizontally. It does not seem to me like circumcision has any role to play in treating or curing phimosis. And in the rare cases where phimosis doesn't work, preputioplasty and phimosis, it's a geometric problem. If you have an inverting sheath, it is only a matter of how far you have to cut before it is able to invert all the way. And indeed, there have been cases where people have gotten a preputioplasty and it hasn't been entirely satisfactory, and there's been mixed opinions to get, well, this isn't working, go get circumcised. And typically what I hear, especially in Europe, is they simply go in and cut it a bit further, and then it works fine. What I am getting at is this, anyway, coming off of that, what I am getting at is this iatrogenic phimosis. This is physician-induced phimosis caused by the forced retraction of infants in doctors' offices and the doctors who are ordering the parents to forcibly retract. I have learned in recent days that forced retraction is apparently much bigger of a problem than I would have ever thought. There's a particular woman in YouTube channel who posted a video about this recently. I'll have to dig out the link. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it very immediately. But who was in the doctor's office. The doctor she went in the doctor's office. She was not forcibly retracting. She was pretty sure she had heard that you were not supposed to do that. And the doctor, no sooner had he gotten the diaper off and was immediately forcibly retracting or the nurse or somebody in the office was forcibly retracting the infant's foreskin. And immediately the baby is screaming. She's saying this cannot be right. And the doctor's office is saying, oh yes, you should be doing this every day. And she's saying, no, this cannot be right. And she goes home. The kid is still screaming. He's restless for the rest of the day. And then over the course of the next day or two, he's bleeding. She finds blood all over in his diaper. Blood and blood clots and things like this. And thankfully, she reaches out to lawyers and gets more information, and she calls these people back and says, no. Even the American Academy of Pediatrics says that this is unacceptable. And actually, the nurse acknowledges that and says, we're still recommending that you do it. And at this point, an official letter from a lawyer gets sent. I think attorneys for the rights of the child are actually on this case, or if not them, then somebody who works on these circumcision cases. And as far as I know, that's the status of it now, with potential legal action pending. But it's just breathtaking to me. First of all, this idea that you have to forcibly retract the foreskin of your infant's penis every single day. You would think a billion years of mammalian evolution would not require this. And does nobody detect the very weird, child abuse, child molestation undertones of forcibly masturbating your infant's penis every single day? Actually, I will also say, you may have noticed these physicians' videos about circumcision. They'll tell you to apply Vaseline to the freshly mutilated penis of your infant son. Does nobody also detect? Does anybody detect the underlying tones of child molestation and child abuse of masturbating your infant son with Vaseline every day? I mean, so much for that maintenance-free penis that the circumcisionists were promising. Anyway, that's breathtaking. And the fact that the nurse, when they were having this conversation in the doctor's office the first time, said, oh yes, if you need to do this, but a lot of our patients, they come back anyway and end up having to be circumcised anyway. I mean, this is an admission. They are causing this acute case of iatrogenic phimosis, where there's some acute inflammation and there's bleeding and probably swelling, and then they're claiming that this is the reason to circumcise. As far as I'm concerned, this is fraud. They are causing this state and then recommending circumcision and benefiting from it twice over. The office visit, probably repeated office visits as the problem gets worse, and then conducting the circumcision itself. That's another thing I didn't know, that some pediatrics offices perform infant circumcisions as an outpatient procedure right there in your doctor's office, right there on the table in the doctor's office. Just another breathtaking aspect of this. So I am trying to inject this new concept into the dialogue, iatrogenic phimosis, and this could be the ground of a whole new angle of attack with regard to lawsuits if they start forcibly retracting infants in doctors' offices. This is another area of fertile ground for suing these people to high heaven, and all around making a big stink about it, so that people, again, keeping the issue of circumcision fresh on the minds of Americans, make sure that this conversation gets underway. So that's my take on it. Iatrogenic phimosis. Tell everybody you know. And don't let them forcibly retract your children in the doctor's office. Anyway, tell me what you think. Take care. Bye-bye.